This is a Brooklyn News special report.
And it is a good Sunday afternoon to be with you. Time now 12:03. I'm Jackson Mitchell. We are standing by because we expect here in just any moment President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to hold a bilateral meeting over at Mar-a-Lago. Taking you right now to a live shot outside of Mar-a-Lago there in Palm Beach, Florida. That is Trump's residence there. He often goes during the weekend and holidays where he's been all week. Unclear if he will return to the White House later tonight. Closer up shot as we stand by because we expect again in any moment for President Trump to walk out those doors with the Ukrainian president. We're standing by for it. As soon as it occurs, we will have that shot ready to go for all of you. This meeting is expected to be about, of course, reaching peace in the Russia-Ukrainian war. Moments ago, I should say over an hour really, over on Truth Social, President Donald Trump announced that he, quote, had a good and very productive telephone call with President Putin prior to my meeting at 1 p.m. today with President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. The meeting will take place in the main dining room of Mar-a-Lago. Press is invited. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. That was earlier today over on Truth Social. So, just standing by here for that meeting to get underway. Of course, the entire issue throughout all of this has been that Russia wants some land from Ukraine, and Ukraine is at this point in time not willing to give that up. And that has been the story we've so longed talking about all of that. So as soon as we get that camera back for you guys into this event, where again we expect this Zelenskyy and Trump meeting to begin, we will take you there live. At the time now approaches just 5 minutes past the top of the hour. So as soon as we get the camera back into that event, we will take you there. Again, just standing by here for it all to begin. I want to continue kind of watching this shot we do have outside of Mar-a-Lago. We've seen a Coast Guard boat throughout the last little bit, kind of surveying the area, patrolling the area, I should say, as we await for that. I believe the Kremlin is saying something on the phone call that occurred earlier today. So if you'll stand by with me. Yes, so I'll read this to you. This is what I'm just getting in. This is from Moscow. The Kremlin, of course, what they call essentially the White House, what they call, like, how we would say the White House says something, that's what the Kremlin is Russia's version of that. So I'll read you this little piece here. It says, the Kremlin has been involved in a recent high-profile phone calls, notably confirming a productive call between President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin on December 28th, just before Trump's meeting with Zelenskyy, with both sides confirming the call but not offering few details. The Kremlin views leaks and attempts to hinder the process of peace, but I do know what they essentially said earlier today was that the call was productive and it was on kind of restoring peace. So the question throughout this entire event has been essentially Ukraine doesn't want to make a deal, and then Russia a month later invades once again and breaks this deal. They want to be able to have their allies on their side, like the U.S., to have a militia from their allies within their country, within Ukraine. But that's something that Russia obviously doesn't want. And it's kind of been, we don't want allies militiant in our country. And so then they're like, well, if they invade, we don't have the power to kind of fight back. And that's been this argument throughout this entire war in order to stop it here. So now we are just going to hear what this meeting might be about, what we might learn. Again, as soon as we get that live shot back, we'll take you there. And we've actually just gotten it back. So let's take you back full screen there to Palm Beach, Florida, Mar-a-Lago, where again we expect this meeting to get underway really any moment now. Yesterday, we do know, um, the Ukrainian president did meet with the Canadian Prime Minister. We had that. We aired that. I'm sorry, rather we did have that video posted over on our YouTube channel. Again, if you're just joining us, we are standing by for President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to walk out here and hold this kind of bilateral meeting. As soon as we get it, you'll see it first right here as we have that feed pulled up for you guys. I'm working on getting that video from yesterday of the two presidents meeting. Of course, I'm speaking about the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and the Canadian Prime Minister. So, okay, sorry, I was just working on getting that video pulled in for you guys so we could show you this meeting that happened yesterday with the Canadian Prime Minister and the Ukrainian Prime Minister of the course. We're waiting for this. If the camera, if we show you this video, it's about 4 minutes long, this video, if we show you it, and then as soon as we begin to show you it, they walk out, we will dip out of it immediately. So, we'll show you this video first, and then, if anything happens in this little 4 minute period, we will dip immediately out of it. So here is yesterday in Halifax over in Canada, of course, the Canadian Prime Minister and the Ukrainian President Zelenskyy meeting there.
CP ready? CBC ready? Ready. Heads up, everyone.
Okay. Thanks so much. Good to see you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Alors, merci, Monsieur le Président. Bienvenue au Canada, bienvenue à Halifax. Vous êtes parmi tes alliés, tes amis ici. Et le Canada va travailler sans relâche pour le peuple ukrainien, pour une paix juste et durable. Welcome. Thank you for taking this time. This at a crucial moment in this process. Under President Zelenskyy's leadership, we have the conditions, the possibility of a just and lasting peace. But that requires a willing Russia. And the barbarism that we saw overnight, the attack on Kyiv, shows just how important it is that we stand with Ukraine during this difficult time, and that we create the conditions for this just and lasting peace and a true reconstruction. And I want to underscore something that has happened in recent weeks, is that the development of that possibility under your leadership, and also the prospect of true prosperity for the Ukrainian people. I'll just finish with one point on Canada. We've provided military assistance, further military assistance. We're announcing today further economic assistance for Ukraine, $2.5 billion worth of economic assistance that helps unlock financing from the IMF, from the World Bank, from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, to begin this process of rebuilding. We have an important bilateral meeting, and then a meeting virtually with our colleagues from the coalition of the willing. Il y aura une réunion bilatérale et puis une réunion de la coalition de volonté, et nous sommes maintenant, point final, d'une négociation très importante avec Monsieur le Président Trump, qui lui-même a créé des conditions clés Bon pays, juste et durable. Alors, thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. Dear Mark, Prime Minister, dear journalists, dear Canada, thank you for your support, first of all. And thanks for your the words that you mentioned about this tonight attack. It was really very difficult, hard attack. The Russia launched more than 500 drones and dozens of missiles. And thanks for air defense of our party, but it's not enough. And this attack is again Russia's answer on our peace efforts, and it's really shows that Putin doesn't want peace, and we want peace. And he's the man of war, but he afraid to speak about publicly. But we see the steps, and what we need to stop this war in any way, and we need two things: pressure on Russia and sufficient strong support for Ukraine. We'll speak about it. We will speak about air defense, and it's really last weeks we had good steps in diplomacy, but we can't live in illusion that it gives us possibility to have less air defense. With Russia it doesn't work. So thank you very much, Mark, for this meeting. We will have bilateral, and as you said, we will join our European friends, and tomorrow I will have I hope very important and very constructive meeting with President Trump.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Merci
you.
beaucoup. We'll go.
So that was yesterday there. Now we've made it to today, where we expect again President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to meet here. That's live look there in Mar-a-Lago as we await for this meeting to occur. As soon as it does, you got the feed right there on in front of you. So we'll have that for you, and we'll bring you there as soon as we see the two walk out of those doors. At least that's what we're expecting them to do. As soon as we see them on any camera, we'll take you there. We do have another camera we're also watching, a full screen there of Mar-a-Lago, showing you the property there. Something Trump has talked, of course, very great about. So again, just any moment now, we do expect the two to walk out. As soon as they do, we will bring you there live. Okay, so again, we reach that point now where we're kind of just waiting for this to all get underway. You've got the camera there, as I've said multiple times now, so we're kind of just, as soon as this gets underway, it's there on your screen. I will note something we talked about just a few moments ago. President Donald Trump has said he did have a phone call with excuse me, with the Russian president Vladimir Putin. So that was all within the last few moments. I'll take you to what he said here. Here's what he said in that social media post. He goes, quote, "I just had a very productive telephone call with President Putin of Russia prior to my meeting at 1 p.m. today with President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. The meeting will take place in the main dining room of Mar-a-Lago. Press is invited. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Unclear to this point what the entire phone call was about, though we talked a little earlier about what the Kremlin had said about this phone call. Of course, they had said that this phone call was about peace in between these two countries. Of course, it had been going back and forth for so long now. That's, of course, what we kind of expected this meeting to all kind of be about, and that's what we're waiting to hear from these two guys. as soon as we see them. So as soon as we do, of course, we'll take you there, bring you there to the two cameras we've got so far. This is the one we've been watching throughout the last little bit. Of course, we do expect the two leaders of both countries, of course, one, President Donald Trump here in the U.S., and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, as they meet there at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Of course, now we're approaching 20 minutes past the hour. The question here, maybe, has there been a peace deal found? Are we closer? I should say, are the two countries now closer to having peace? So many questions still remaining unanswered right now. We are going to continue kind of watching this all. As soon as we get details, we'll take you there. Sorry guys, I'm getting a little bit quiet here. I'm kind of just reading through some news here to see if we have any more details that you guys might need to know. I will say, let's actually, we do have a few details you guys could know. I'll pull it up on your screen actually is what I'll do here, because Reuters has an article that I'm reading right now, and I think it's something you guys should know about. One moment, I'll pull it up on your screen. So Reuters is reporting, I'll just read you this paragraph right here. Russia hit the capital and other parts of Ukraine with hundreds of missiles and drones. That was on Saturday, so just yesterday. It knocked out power and heat in parts of the capital. On Saturday, during a meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney in Nova Scotia, Zelenskyy described the weekend attacks on Ukraine as Russia's response to the U.S. brokered peace efforts. So essentially saying that Russia is not happy with what is kind of Russia's not happy with these peace talks happening. Of course, Zelenskyy has remained that um Russia just simply doesn't want to find peace. We're kind of hearing a little bit of the opposite from the Kremlin, but also hearing the opposite from President Trump when he explains the conversations that they've had. Of course, we expect if he takes any questions from the press, it's going to be a question that's going to be asked. What was talked about in that phone call there? I'll continue reading this Reuters article here now. Zelenskyy had told journalists that he plans to discuss the fate of eastern Ukraine's contested uh, Donbass region during the meeting at Trump's Florida residence, as well as the future of the I do not know how to pronounce that, but the nuclear power plant they're talking about in the article. And other topics, the Ukrainian president and his delegation arrived in Florida late on Saturday. Ukraine's deputy foreign minister, Azeri, I'm not going to say the last name as well. I'm sure there's a great English pronunciation that you could use, but I don't have it memorized in my head here. I'll continue kind of reading this. Russia, of course, claiming more battlefield advances. Moscow has repeatedly insisted that Ukraine yield all of the Donbass, even areas still under Kyiv's control, and Russia officials have objected to other parts of the latest proposal. As I'm saying, that's what I kind of said a little earlier in the hour. Um, Ukraine doesn't want to give up any land. Russia says you need to give us the Donbass region, as we're reading here, and parts of Kiev, and parts that are still under Kiev's control, I should say. So that's been something that Russia has said, no, you're not. I should say Ukraine has said, no, you're not getting that so far. So unclear where this meeting is going to go. Of course, there was a plan that Russia had agreed to. It had a lot of Russian proposals. This is way back, a few months back now, because this is the third meeting that these two leaders have now had, Trump and Zelensky have had now. Two were at the White House. The first one, if you remember, it kind of turned into an explosive moment. Um, one member of the press, I remember a conservative member of the press in that first meeting, asked Zelenskyy why he wasn't wearing a suit to the White House, etc. there. So it turned explosive. Then then they met, I should say, a little bit after that. Now we're on the third meeting, this time not at the White House, rather at Trump's residence in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. So now as you sit here, we're standing by for this all to get underway. Any moment now, we expect the two to see the two. It is my understanding that maybe we're waiting on Zelenskyy to arrive. Let me check the poll notes here and see maybe what we are waiting on. Okay, I'm not getting any new information. I'm just getting, the pool has been swept and is holding outside of Mar-a-Lago. On the drive over, several people were spotted with Ukrainian flags. We're just waiting on this meeting to happen. It was expected to occur about 12 p.m. Looks like it's not going to be 12 p.m., but it's almost 12:30 here Central Time as we wait for this. Is this the Ukrainian president in this vehicle? It appears it might be. I'm assuming this camera can't turn far over because it looks like maybe there's other cameras that are going to be in the frame if they do that. So they might be trying not to do that here as we stand by for this meeting to get underway. The White House has also just began their live stream of this, and that's always the cue most of the time that they are expecting this to get underway soon. At least that's what I usually use as my cue at times. They usually start about just a few moments before they expect the event to get underway. So here we go. Now we're waiting on this all to get underway. You can see the amount of motorcade police vehicles in this shot that we have there. There you go. There it is. So we're waiting on that. Still waiting on, of course, a fee here to begin as we wait for President of Ukraine, Zelenskyy, to arrive. Also waiting on a key moment on elections. There has not been an election since this war began. Which it began back, of course, I mean, there's been more recent developments, but of course the 2014 Russian invasion, but of course there's been no elections in quite some time, and Ukrainian people are calling for the elections. Let me look up when was the last election in Ukraine, because that's been something that Donald Trump has been very skeptical. It was 2019, and that's when Volodymyr Zelenskyy won over independent Peter Poroshenko. So let me turn this feed up, see if we have any audio. And we do. So the last election was 2019. Of course, Donald Trump has been very skeptical and has called for elections in Ukraine since that time. And we haven't seen it, of course. He said he likes to. And I think previously, the Ukrainian president even said he would be open to an election. It was just he was scared of election security. That had been the problem, and he wanted kind of a backup from the U.S. allies when it came to that. From his U.S. allies on keeping the election safe and protected and making sure it was safe, essentially. Continuing to wait here now for President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Zelenskyy to meet here. We are now seeing President Donald Trump exit the room. Let's turn the audio up and see if he makes any remarks. It looks as he's going to walk over there now and greet the Ukrainian president. There we go. It's a little hard to hear from the distance that these cameras appear to be at, but we do see the two leaders. A quick photo op. there. Of course, this meeting happening at Trump's Mar-a-Lago, his residence in Florida. He's been there throughout the entire holiday.
I do. I think he is. I think they both are.
What was your message to Mr. Putin?
Gotta make a deal. Gotta get it done. Too many people dying. And I think both presidents want to make a deal. We believe that they're going to brief you.
What do you expect? Do you need Putin again soon?
Depends. Depends. I do believe that we have the makings of a deal that's good for Ukraine, good for everybody. It's very important. There's nothing more important, my book. We settled 8 wars, and this is the most difficult one. I thought it would be in the middle of the pack. This is the most difficult one, but we're going to get it done. We're going to have a great meeting today. This gentleman has worked very hard, and he's very brave, and his people are very brave. I mean, what they've gone through, no nation, very rarely has a nation ever had to go through this. So we're going to have a very good meeting today, I think, and I'm also calling President Putin back after the meeting, and we'll continue a negotiation. Pretty complex, but not that complex.
Mr. President, what should we expect of these deals?
Deadline?
I don't have deadlines. You know what my deadline is? Getting the war ended. We don't have deadlines. You agree with that?
Are you prepared to sign security agreement with Ukraine?
Well, it depends what the security agreement says. What a dumb question. Nobody even knows what the security agreement is going to say. But there will be a security agreement. It'll be a strong agreement. And the European nations are very much involved in that. They'll be very much involved in protection, etc. But the European nations have been really great. They're very much in line with this meeting and getting a deal done. They're terrific people. I think you can say that. There's nobody there. They all want to get it done, and they've been very supportive, I think. That's it.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you for this meeting. Thank you for your invitation. Yes, really, I agree with President. Our teams, they do what they can. And I think that during last month, they moved forward with negotiations and the Americans. Thank you very much for your team, for Steve and Jared. And they worked very well, I think. They worked on different documents. I hope that all these documents can bring peace as quick as possible. So, and I agree with the President that we're in the European Union. Yes, and the President is in contact with them, and maybe we'll contact with them.
We could go today.
Yeah,
Maybe we should go.
today.
What made you want to come in person to meet the president today?
Sorry?
What made you want to come here to Mar-a-Lago to meet the president today?
What? Yeah. What?
Why?
So we have we spoke about our teams. They worked on 20 points plan. Then they worked on prosperity and security document. And 20 points plan is very important. We have to discuss and sequencing. Very important. Our teams talked about strategy, how to make step by step, and to bring this closer. And we will discuss this strategy.
Mr. President, are you going to make territorial concessions?
We will speak about 20 points plan. There are in 20 points plan, 90% by the way was done by our 2 teams. I think they made a great job, great work, and yes, we will discuss these points also.
And there are great economic benefits for Ukraine also, because there's a lot of rebuilding to do, and there's a lot of wealth to be had. And they have great wealth. Potentially, they have great wealth. They want to get started. But there's a great economic benefit for Ukraine in what we're talking about.
President Trump, some are saying that the recent attacks in the past couple of days that Russia's staged against Ukraine shows that President Putin isn't serious about peace. What is your reaction to that?
No, he's very serious. I think, I can say that I believe Ukraine has made some very strong attacks also. And I don't say that negatively. I think you probably have to. I don't say that negatively, you understand? But I think, he hasn't told me that, but there have been some explosions in various parts of Russia, and it looks to me like, I don't know, I don't think it came from the Congo. I don't think it came from the United States of America. It possibly came from Ukraine, but I haven't asked that question. Maybe I won't bother asking. They're fighting a war, and we'll see what happens. But I believe it's a war that We have two willing parties. We have two willing countries. They want to see it end. Look, the people of Ukraine want it to end, and the people of Russia want it to end, and the two leaders want it to end.
Mr. President, some of the economic benefits for Ukraine, Europe is holding some billions in frozen Russian assets. Do you believe that should go to Ukraine to help rebuild or go back to Russia?
None of that's been determined, but it'll go. It's going to go very quickly. I think we're in final stages of talking, and we're going to see. Otherwise, it's going to go on for a long time. It'll either end, or it's going to go on for a long time, and millions of additional people are going to be killed. Millions.
Sir, would you say
And nobody wants that.
So you said that you're expecting to get to an agreement today.
What?
When you say that you think it will either end or go on for a long time, and you say you don't have a deadline. So what are you expecting out of today?
I just think we can do. I think we can move very rapidly. I really feel that. We've spoken. I know you had dinner with Steve. Steve Witkoff and Jared have done a fantastic job. And everybody has. Marco's been incredible. The whole group has been, our group has been incredible. And Ukraine appreciates it, and Russia appreciates it. They both want to see it end, and we're going to get it ended. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you, I think, at the end, but I do think we'll call it Europe also. I'm going to speak to the European leaders. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, there you go. The Ukrainian president, excuse me there, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, President Trump speaking for just a few moments as you see them enter the home. It appears we're going to have another moment when we will see the two. What we'll do, I'm trying to decide what we're going to do here. We might just stand by for that moment to come, and as soon as it does, we'll take it there. Here's a look. We do have a full screen look there of Mar-a-Lago. If it appears on your screen, should at any moment now. There we go. So as soon as we get it at the end of this event, we're probably likely going to come back on the air, of course, because I do want to hear where these discussions did go. But you did hear Trump there in a moment, and I'll pull up exactly here. He goes, quote, "I think we're in final stages of talking." That is a direct quote there from the president. He also announced that he will talk to the European leaders, see what they're thinking on all of this. Of course, this comes after he speaking, I should say, he also said that he would be calling the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, back. Of course, this comes after his earlier announcement from earlier today. There you go, back on your screen now, where he did say that they did have a discussion. The exact details of that discussion, of course, remain limited, to say the least. So we'll continue kind of waiting to hear more on maybe what that discussion was about. The president wasn't asked a question about that. I know it was a little confusing, hard to hear exactly what the president was saying, though we did hear a few key points. He said final part of these discussions to, of course, end the war. We are going to continue to monitor these details as we get them, but that will do it for this Brooklyn News special report. We'll have more coming on everything you need to know on this right here on our YouTube channel, but also wanting to follow news locally, you can of course visit brooklynnews.com and head over to all of our social media pages that have been scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Stand by here. We'll wrap things up quickly here. It's been a pleasure to be with you throughout the last few moments or so as we've been covering these developing details. I know we were kind of starting to drag it there at the beginning part of it. We are waiting for the two to arrive and be able to speak. That is going to do it for this Brooklyn News special report. Again, pleasure to be with you. We'll see you right back here later today if we see these two speak again when that happens.